everybody, welcome to video 3. So I've got my next building now cut out, and I've mapped it onto this building 1, and I've parented it to the building 1 null. So we are now in business, so I should be able to now play through and so on and so on. But here's the problem, is our building of course stops where we lost the tracking data earlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to just find the point where the building stops moving. So it stops moving about there. Okay, so that's this last movement, isn't it? That's our frame. If you're using one of the university machines on After Effects, you can use the page up and page down keys to advance frame by frame in After Effects if you want to. Okay, so what we're going to do now then is we're going to get to this frame where this is the last frame where we've got tracking data, and we're now going to turn on the stopwatch for position, and that's created a keyframe here on our last frame of the tracking data. And now we're going to just come to this eye tool here, and we're going to turn that off. And all we're going to do is we're just going to move the playhead along, and we're going to watch the maquette, and when the maquette, the front, goes off the screen, we're going to stop it there, and now we're just going to drag the position of our mask to the side of the screen, and theoretically that should now move at roughly the same speed as the building. So if we turn our building back on now, it's slightly wonky, isn't it? It's slightly in the middle, it's slightly sort of obviously the speed changes, which obviously the tracking, when we tracked it, that would be accounted for, but because we're trying to do this by eye now, we can't do that. So now we're going to just turn that off, and we're going to say, right, the building's moved a bit faster than the track, so all we need to do now is just move the track to there, and then that should do it. So what I'm going to do is keep that line on that little grey dot there, and just keep the track like so. Move that to there. That looks about right. Yeah, so I don't think there's any points at which it goes off. Yeah, so that's fine. So there we go. So I'm going to just turn my building back on. And now, roughly, I mean, I can tidy that up if I want to spend time on it. That will move at roughly the same speed as the maquette. Okay, so we can do the same thing with the side of the building then. We can just wait until the side bit goes off, and then we can do the same thing with the side of the building. Okay, and then you can do the same thing with this one in reverse. So start at the back there, track it backwards, and then do the same thing. I'm just going to take you through doing the side of this building as well, the one that goes off the screen. Okay, so here's our building 1 front that we've parented to the building 1 null. So I'm going to highlight that, I'm going to duplicate that, right click on that to make sure we know what we're working with. So I'm going to turn this one into the building 1 side. Now, if I open up the properties for building 1 side and transform, the first thing is that we've got this position stopwatch turned on, which we don't want. So let's turn that off. So we're going to keep the position stopwatch on, obviously, for building 1 front, and we will be turning that back on later for this one, but for now we don't need that because it's going to interfere with what we're trying to do. So what we're going to do then is we're going to move to a point where there's a bit of a sort of a side angle, so it's easier for us to see, and then we're going to do like we did before. So this is now a 3D object, so I'm going to turn that off for a second on building 1 front, because I'd turned that into a 3D object earlier. Building 1 side then is a 3D object, and just like before, I'm going to come to my Y rotation. Okay, this time I'm going to go so if I go that way, then the yellow part of the building is going to join up with the grey part, so I'm actually going to go the other way around, flip it round, and then I'm going to angle that like so. So that's roughly looking about right compared to the side of the building. So just like I did before then, I'm going to turn on this 3D object. I turned off, by the way, I went Shift Command and H earlier, so that's my information there. I'm going to just go Shift Command and H again just to get rid of that. And just like before with position, I'm going to zoom like so until that disappears, like that. Okay, then I'm going to come to position to the side, drag this to the side, and that's going to hook up like so. So far so good, because this is parented to building 1 again. So to begin with, it's all going to work. It's all going to work nicely. Okay, then of course the building is going to go and that's going to be left behind, which is fine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, just like we did before, we're going to get to the point where that goes away. Okay, now we're going to turn on our position stopwatch again, and we're going to advance the video through until that goes off the side, and now we're going to drag that on to the side like so. And because we had to adjust our clip earlier because it was a bit moving by, we had to move it by eye because the speed wasn't consistent. Look, what's happening is there's some separation here of the two sides. So now I'm going to just move this into the side, and I'm going to create a new keyframe by dragging that in like so. And I can now play with this. So I can go to about there, make sure that that's nice and tight onto the building like that. And I'm going to go to there. Is that fine? Yeah, that's looking okay. All right, so that's fine. So now we can play that through. That's looking like it's moving. So the last thing then to do is just the same as we did before. We're going to get to this last point. We're going to work out where it is on the maquette. So it's just before that overlaps. So now I'm going to turn off the eye so I can't see it. I'm going to drag this to the point where that goes off the screen. So I'm going to approximate that like so. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to Shift Command and H so I can see my mask lines, and I'm just going to drag that to the side. So now that's going to go off the screen like so. Okay, and now if I turn on my eye again, theoretically, that should now have moved. There we go, off the screen. It's not the tidiest, but it'll do. Okay, it doesn't matter that it's overlapping this maquette, of course, at the back, because that maquette is going to disappear anyway, because eventually we're going to turn that whole bit of video off and we're not going to need it anymore. All right, so that's how we're going to track this building which goes off the side of the screen. And you can do the same thing now with building 4. Just do it in reverse. Okay, and then I'll join you in the next video where we're going to start putting some textures in and bits and pieces. Okay, I shall see you then.